If you feel lost when it comes to knowing what ball you should be playing out there on the course, you're not alone. I'm setting out to find the best golf ball that's going to work for my game, and to do that, I'm starting my journey with this little known tool from Ping. Let's go. The golf ball itself might be one of the most confusing equipment elements in our bag today. What brand, what model, what type, X or not, Pro or Pro Plus, we got diamonds, dashes, and now triple diamonds, or maybe even recycled or refurbished golf balls if you're trying to save a little bit of money. As a consumer, figuring that out can be pretty tough and will either ultimately lead to you picking one particular ball or cycling through the gumball machine equivalent of a ball pocket that you've established in your bag at the end of the summer, which ultimately is going to lead to overall less performance because you're either working with different distances or launch or spin with all of these different balls, because picking the right ball is confusing, flat out. Because when you get online and you're trying to figure out what golf ball should I be playing, it's tough to know. You're referencing websites or manufacturers that are telling you, based on this swing speed and these hundreds of balls that we've tested on these millions of different statistical parameters, this is what the best ball is for you. Or if you're on a manufacturer's website and you're taking a relatively rudimentary test on what your expected 7-iron distance is, what trajectories you prefer, or the type of firmness or feel that you want out of a given golf ball, and you're going to be limited to the particular SKUs for that individual manufacturer, it limits you ultimately in figuring out what the best golf ball is for you and your golf game. And all of that ultimately leads us to the question of, is there a better option out there to at least find the right golf ball or narrow that search down when trying to determine what the best ball for you and your game is going to be? And here jumps in Ping's Ballnamic. Ping has a unique perspective on the golf ball industry as a whole because they don't particularly have any skin in the game. Ballnamic uses data from hundreds of golf shots amongst a variety of conditions and clubs to determine the performance characteristics of a given golf ball. So when you hop on their website and you input your information, getting as specific as the individual launch characteristics of your 7-iron and driver, they're able to use that information to provide a personalized recommendation of 1, 3, or 5 different types of golf balls that would best be suited for you based on the information that they have. So let's get the numbers and let's get started. So now that I have the launch monitor numbers for my 7-iron and my driver, it's time to head to Ballnamic's website, enter all of my information in order to see what the best 5 balls that they're going to recommend for me and my game at this point. So after going through all the pages for the account information setup, it's going to get you to establishing your profile and then stepping through the different phases of setting up your driver, your irons and wedges, and ultimately the things that you're looking for on there. So just standard questions like you can see on some of the other manufacturer websites for golf ball fittings. So you're just going to go through all of this and enter the applicable information. So next we're getting into the golf club, and this is going to give you the option to either enter some basic information, or if you know your launch conditions, you can then enter that specific information on the page in order to give them a more accurate depiction of what your launch parameters look like. So from what I saw in the simulator today, I was getting 168 miles an hour of ball speed, launching at 13, I'll call it 13.5 degrees of launch, and then spinning at around 2,300 RPM for the Callaway Chrome Tour golf ball that I was playing. Let's see, height preference, you're gonna see it's calculated and see what it's ultimately gonna determine. Cool, I like that, around that 100, 110 foot. And that will automatically adjust the trajectory that it's looking for. And then from a wind performance perspective, I'll leave it in the middle. Just given where I play in the Midwest here, it's not something that I'm overly concerned with. I'd like something that's a little bit more versatile in all conditions. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And that brings you on to the 7-iron information. And this is going to be the same story with the driver. So if you don't have your specific club information, you could just enter it here. And again, it's going to be a little bit more basic, but it's ultimately going to lead you into hopefully a more robust recommendation than you otherwise would be getting on a manufacturer's website. So since again, we know our launch conditions, I'm going to go ahead and go on to that. We know that we are hitting at 131 miles an hour of ball speed with the 7-iron. Launching a little higher than I would like, and that's just kind of where I'm at from a delivery standpoint today. So 23 degrees. So definitely would like to get that down quite a bit, and then spinning at 6,300 RPM with that 7-iron. I'll go ahead and defer to their stopping power preferences, and they do have the ability to break out specific information on what it is that you're looking for, or trying to define each of these different sections if you do have any questions. So using their automated function on here, determined that the current landing angle was 53 degrees. And if I go on my launch monitor information, the average that I had was 53.4 degrees. So pretty darn close on that. And it's recommending a 48.4 degree land angle. So it's saying that I should be shallowing out the land angle for the golf ball recommendation that they're going to be kicking out. Workability preference. So that seems like something I'm pretty much in the middle of. Again, I'm looking for overall improved consistency, and maybe as my game were to improve down the road, that might be something I dig into a little bit more. So I'm going to leave that kind of in the middle. For the flyer prevention portion of this, I think I'm going to go ahead and just leave that more at moderate importance. It's not something that I really deal with and have a problem with too often in my bag. So I think just somewhere in the middle is probably pretty good on that. And then just given that the scale is not important at all or highly important, I think having something that is consistent in a variety of different turf settings is probably going to be the best for me. So getting onto the wedge detail page, this is going to be something that's going to look a little bit more like a lot of the direct-to-consumer or some of these major manufacturer websites when you're attempting to find what ball on their website is ultimately going to be the best for you. So as we dig through, we're just going to be looking for each of these sections to determine for your game what it is that you're looking for. For the full wedge spin preference, again, everybody's game is going to be a little bit different. I don't like bringing the ball back too much, so I think something just in the middle is going to be pretty good. And then just given my generally higher ball flight and launch angle that I tend to have, I think something that's going to be not climbing too much when it's in the air is going to be important for me. And then green side spin importance, it's not something where I'm overly dependent on a one hop and stop type shot. And I do tend to play a lot of bump and runs, but having good feel from the green side on those little chips is good. So somewhere in the middle, I think will be the best for me. So getting into the last page here, it's going to give you some options to provide some input on the putter feedback that you're getting, and then ultimately the price or versus performance that you're going to be looking for on that. So if you do have an idea of what it is that you're looking for in terms of putter performance or putter feel, you can add that or not. And then ultimately, if you are looking for performance over price or price over performance, you can select that accordingly. That's ultimately going to bring you to the final screen where you can go through and review all of your answers, make any last minute changes that you would like. They will then bring you to this page, which will explain in a little more detail the actual data and strategy around how they are selecting these numbers. And one more time before getting to your final results, another disclaimer stating that despite all of the effort that they're putting in to gather the most accurate information that they possibly can, it is an estimate and there's no guarantees that any ball will perform or outperform the way that they say. So once we're ready to do that, we're going to go ahead and click Get Results. And straight out the gate, the number one match that they determined based on the information that I had entered is the Titleist Pro V1X, followed by the Pro V1X Left Dash, the Max Fly Tour, the Callaway Chrome Tour Triple Diamond, and then the ball that I'm currently playing, the Callaway Chrome Tour. What you'll see underneath each of the different balls is the level of certainty based on the criteria that you've entered, with all of the models that they have run and the data that they've collected for each of these individual balls. And if you scroll down the page, you'll see each of the different categories going from driver distance, height, wind score, 7-iron carry, the workability, iron rollout, the flyer question that they talked about before, the wedge spin projection based on what you've requested, green side spin, and then that putter feel. Additionally, if you'd like to, you can go into each individual ball and see what a cross section looks like for each of them. We know it's not an actual golf ball review if you don't slice a ball in half, for anybody who's been following the internet for quite some time. And then if you want to look into each individual ball with a little bit more detail, you can click on the Explore Results page, which will allow you to select 2 different golf balls, compare them against one another, and look at the different driver flight, 7-iron flight, and then each of the respective wind scores to see how each of the golf balls compare against one another if you are looking for a specific type of performance improvement in the golf ball that you're looking to change to. I think all of this is incredibly interesting, and I think there's plenty that you can dig into if this is just the start of your golf ball journey. So for me, ultimately, I think it's pretty easy to say that if you're in the market to try to figure out what golf ball will best suit you and your game, using an online ball fitter that will narrow down your search with no skin in the game is probably one of the better ways to go. And as far as ball fitting tools that I have come across online, and I've gone through a wide variety of either direct to consumer or major manufacturer websites in order to see what they would recommend for my game, I think this is pretty much the best tool that I have personally come across. And I think the only thing to really do now is try to figure out how these golf balls perform relative to one another. And as you can see behind me, I've been building up as many different golf balls as I can reasonably acquire in order to do a variety of tests to try to find what is the best golf ball out there for me and my game. And after getting the details from this report, it's going to be a good starting place for me to see for each of these different manufacturers and looking at Titleist and Callaway. And then lastly, Maxfly, which I also have sitting right next to me here, how those golf balls are going to perform relative to the variety that I'm going to be testing and how they're ultimately going to compare to the results off of Ballnamic's website. If this is something that you've used in the past or plan to use in the future, let me know down in the comments how the results have worked out for you and your golf game. Alternatively, if there's different programs or systems out there that do a good job at trying to get people fit into the best golf ball possible, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to look into those a little bit further. And lastly, if you've made it this far in the video, I want to thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, follow along with the channel at the bottom and stay tuned for more coming up.